What work do you do, and what's your role in your team?
My role is as a founder of the organization and president.
Do you share ownership with anybody, or is it just yourself?
Just myself. I had a partner as I got started, and it turned out that was not the best direction.
Why did you start your business in the first place?
You know, I went in the military for 33 and a half years, and then came out and had been doing projects throughout my military career.
Do you think it really set you up for success? Do you think it was like a great foundation?
The experience I have is irreplaceable.
How do you define success?
For me, I'm looking to build.
What are some of the next milestones that you're trying to hit tangibly?
Having enough work to where we can bring on 3 full-time superintendents, and we need a full-time construction admin person.
Any parting words for your younger self or somebody listening to this that might be not quite where you're at today?
Funny thing, you know.
All right, I am joined here on another episode of the Builders Ladder podcast by Arch. How are you, dude? How are you going?
Oh, and I am doing fantastic. I appreciate you guys taking the time and having the opportunity to talk to you and the rest of the Professional Builders Network.
Yeah, no, these are the highlights of my week. I love these conversations because I get to sort of like talk to people like yourself who are in momentum, doing great stuff, learning a lot. So let's get right into it. Why don't we give everybody that's listening a bit of an insight? Where are you based? What work do you do? And what's your role in your team look like?
Okay, we live in Tampa, Florida. So we're in the greater Tampa Bay area on the west coast of Florida. We are a commercial and residential general contractor. My role is the founder of the organization and president, and lead project manager, and chief cook and bottle washer. So doing a little bit of everything right now as we continue to grow the team. We've got one other person. We've just hired a project manager with me, another retired military veteran, and we've got 3 part-time superintendents that we use on different projects and stuff like that. So we're involved right now in a motel renovation project. We just finished a large luxury home, and we're really looking to figure out what our niche is exactly in the industry right now.
Yeah, amazing. So walk me through just that team again. I just want to clarify the team and get a good idea of the org chart. So you're kind of like, you're the main man. You're ultimately the business owner. Do you share ownership with anybody, or is it just yourself?
No, just myself. I had a partner as I got started, a partner in name, but all the risk was mine. All the down payments and money was mine initially, and it turned out that was not the best direction. Great individual, I still keep in touch with him, but we were just going in different directions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, like business partnership can be a secret weapon because you share the load really easily. You're both experts at this or that, or sometimes like there's just timings and it doesn't all work out, and that's absolutely fine. We get a lot of team that come through, and sometimes they can be like incredibly talented, like particularly in our coaching department, they can be incredibly talented from the industry. They can be in all respects like have an impeccable track record of like running and growing their own building company, but it just doesn't work out. And sometimes the way that coaching works and working with the members, it's just like it's a timing thing, and that's absolutely fine. It's nothing as a reflection of them or us. It's just like sometimes stuff doesn't work out. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Walk me through again the project management piece and who runs each of the projects on a day-to-day and things like that.
It's been really interesting because Carlos has come in, and one of the secret weapons for us with Carlos is he's bilingual. We've got a very big Latino population here in the area. And so for him to be able to have conversations with our subcontractors is really beneficial to us. The fact that he was a senior officer in the Air Force, he understands project management and leading teams. And the fact that he's been willing to come in here and roll up his sleeves beside us and start from the beginning and really learn project management has been really beneficial. It's really, in the last 3 months that he's been on board, it's been really my first opportunity to start to do things working on the business and not necessarily in the business.
Yes. Yeah. So what's Carlos's title or primary role then?
We're at almost the 90-day mark for his first 90 days in the organization. So he's the assistant project manager.
Mhm.
And so he's going to step up and be the our project manager as the organization continues to grow.
Excellent. Love that. Fantastic. And tell me more, like he's got a background, as do you, in military and the Air Force, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And another one of his secret weapons is he was an Air Force cybercom guy,
Hmm.
so he's very good at computers and other things like that. Where I had a little bit more of a traditional, special operations background, MARSOC and Marine aviation.
Mm.
Together, we both came from an organization called STAR, which is here in Tampa that helps special operations forces transition into positions of significance here in the Tampa Bay area. So that's where we met each other.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. It's so important to like get yourself into the right rooms and get yourself into the right communities because, you guys met there, shared interests, shared experiences. You're able to communicate way better when that's the case. And, you know, you wouldn't have met him presumably if you hadn't been showing up to that sort of stuff or been participating in that kind of an organization. Um,
Exactly.
hmm. So I want to dig into this, your background in the military and also your dad, right? Like, why did you start your business in the first place?
Well, it was funny. My dad had been in construction, so I'd been around construction my entire life.
Mhm.
And then my parents got divorced, and I had an opportunity to go work for a mason all the way through high school and college. And what was interesting about being, getting started in masonry was as a masonry laborer, the Marine Corps and special operations was easy compared to the work of doing masonry, block and stone and all that other stuff. Um, but then, I went in the military for 33 and a half years, and then came out and had been doing projects throughout my military career.
Mm.
Uh, and because of my interest in construction, had an opportunity to lead some of the organizations that I was with in like Afghanistan, as they were getting ready to do some of the build outs for the Afghan Special Security Forces.
Mm.
A lot of that was construction related. So I wasn't the guy building the project, but I was the guy helping the engineers, leading the engineers, and helping them kind of put their plan together to make sure it met our very tight timeline.
Yes. Yeah, such useful and transferable skills, right? We've had many members that have been quite successful with backgrounds in um, like strong community groups, faith-based groups, and then also in the army or the military. Like Lloyd, one of our specialty coaches, spent time in the army, and you yourself, and I could list off another three or four or five or six, just off the top of my head. What kind of other do you think it really set you up for success? Do you think it was like a great foundation, or do you think, you could have left earlier or stayed longer, or, what's your
No,
take?
I joke because when you said, what are some of the things you learned about very expensive lessons, and I joke that you mean I could have left after 4 years, and I wish now I'd gotten into construction sooner because now I look at the benefit of people that have been in the business for 30 plus years,
Mm,
that have already been through this phase of growing and building our processes and things like that.
mm,
Um, I'm envious of that, but the experience I have, and the experience Carlos has is irreplaceable with
mm.
regard to leadership and the ability. We've just got to get from being a very small couple of people construction organization to a bigger construction organization, and I think those benefits are going to start to pay dividends.
100%. You end up, what I see is a lot of people that have had those experiences have far better man management, people management than those that have come maybe purely from a construction background where they're maybe technically better, perhaps, but they lack some of those skills that help us go from, for argument's sake, 1 million in total revenues to 5 million in total revenues. Because after we've got one or two sites working well, and you might be technically perfect, but to grow multiple projects, grow multiple sites, that requires like people management, project management, really good communication and clear lines of communication across this site, this part of town, that part of town. It sounds like Carlos being bilingual and then your background and some of that. Are there any other transferable skills that you've taken from your time?
Oh, absolutely. As I got started in the Marine Corps as a military aviator, it comes with a very specific set of physical limitations. You've got so much fuel in the aircraft, you've got so much distance you can cover, so many things. So it was very good to see those limitations. And then as I got into special operations, it really gave me an opportunity to kind of relook if the rules that we had been living by in aviation and all the other stuff were as required, were as demanding and required. And the one thing that I found out was that by having checklists and processes in place, it was funny. I would go into operations and people would look at me and go, "Oh, of course you've got a checklist. You're an aviator." And I would see these guys doing these crazy things, and they were wondering why they weren't getting the results that they had previously gotten by luck because
Yes.
they didn't take the time to go back through and systemically debrief and figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then apply those. So building checklists, that's an aviation thing, but building checklists and having a process is the only way you can guarantee to get the same results.
Well, and it's that review part as well that you just mentioned. So, like, my background is in sport, and I played at a at an international level and at a national level, and was paid at times. And the best teams that I was on, I've reflected on this a little bit recently, and the best teams trained with very deliberately. So they didn't just show up to train; they trained very deliberately. We are passing, we are shooting, we are, running a play, we are conditioning. Like we are doing something, and we're doing it very deliberately. They trained with a lot of intensity. And then the second thing that they did was they spent a lot of time reviewing game tape and reviewing stuff that had gone on, what went well, what went poorly. And it's almost like that slowing down to actually review where a lot of the gain is made. And we do that in our company now. We do a heap of game tape reviews, a lot of coaching sessions. You'll see this recorder on most stuff so that we can go back and we can watch game tape. We can actually understand, should have done this, should have done that. We're able to run a lot of it through AI now to help cherry pick some of the points that are good and bad against a checklist. So, like, for example, for us, a lot of our calls have stages to them or frameworks to them. And then if we're not doing those stages and those frameworks, we're not performing and following the process. And, we can call that out more deliberately when we then watch the game tape and and review that stuff. What's some stuff that, give me an example of like some processes or some, reviews and stuff that you used to do and that you've now transferred into your construction company.
Well, one of the big things right now is, I think Sun Tzu said it. Victorious warriors win first, then go to war,
Ooh.
while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. And when you take a look at the game of construction,
Yes.
if you show up on the job and you start digging, and you haven't figured out what materials, what subs need to come in behind you, you haven't done your geotech study, you haven't done your pre-con phasing, your procurement, your crew's going to show up and they're going to be wasting time.
Yes.
And so if you start with the end in mind, we always do, right to left planning. You finish at the objective area and then you get off the objective, but backwards plan. Okay, when we show up in the objective area, what do we expect to see? What's going to happen? Where are people staged? Everything like that. And then it's the same thing in construction.
Mm,
Start with a certificate of occupancy,
mm.
back up what needs to happen. We need a week or two of punch list. We need our final inspections. We need all of these things to happen. The internal finishes, the external finishes, landscaping, the final serve. And so we actually got really detailed. And a couple of companies I worked for said, "Holy cow, we really don't need to spend that much time
Mm.
on putting in that you have an inspection and you've got this thing in here that says make a report to the office that the inspection went well." Everybody knows that. Why would you put that in there? I said, because we haven't heard about the last three inspections, and we've got four invoices that were all determined based on that inspection.
Yeah. Gosh.
So
I yeah.
I get excited thinking about it because to me, the transferability of the military and construction, and then when you look at the personalities of people that end up in the military and do well, and people that end up in construction and do well, they're the same people.
Mm, mm. Yeah, 100%. It's
And same thing with sports.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With all of it, I love it. I love it so much. We talk a lot about a business by design or by default, and this is same thing. If you are not proactively planning or working backwards from an end goal, then we just by nature of life is busy. We end up falling into default, right? We go,
Yes.
oh, need to do that, need to sort this. get over here, and other people take the time out of your calendar. Whereas if we play it by design and we go exactly what you're talking about, let's start back from time in business, profit out of company, role that you want to play, weeks that you want to take off as holiday through the year, team members that we want to fill on the org chart, you know, outcomes we want to delegate to them, and all this sort of stuff. And we don't have to do it all at once, but if we're consciously designing what we're trying to build, then we will, even if it's not 100% perfect execution, we're going to be directionally far closer to that outcome than hoping and leaving it up to default. Design is where it's all at. I totally agree.
Yes.
Amazing. So walk me through. So you spent 33 years you spent
In the Marine
33
Corps.
years in the
Yep.
military, and then before that you were doing some stuff with your dad. What happens in the more recent timeline? Like when did the business formally form, and yeah, where are we at?
So I retired in 2020, right as we were going into COVID.
Yeah, wow.
So talk about just challenges across the board
Yeah.
of trying to find civilian employment. And luckily, I got into private equity initially,
Hmm.
and because I wanted something that was going to be dynamic and fast paced.
Yep.
And the gentleman that I worked for had been interested in construction, in innovation, and technology. And he goes, "Well, hey, you're an aviator. You're uh, MARSOC and some other things like that." And he goes, "Have you thought about modeling construction the same way we used to do airplanes?"
Mm.
And I said, "Makes complete sense." So he got me involved, and we started to do some of the construction technology and innovation, looking at BIM, VDC, and we did a couple of test run projects back in the 19 or 2020,
Mm.
and showed some general contractors at the time the benefit of some of this. And it was interesting because I had a laundry list, and we got involved in a project that was about 60% through. And I'm pushing the modelers, and I'm like, "Hey, you got to get to where these guys are and give me some good stuff for the finish." And they're like, "Hey, we can't get past the fact that the civil, the architectural, and the structural plan are all on three different datums." And I said, "Hey, the building's already up. Sprinkle some fairy dust on it, and let's get going." And I go in and I walk in with a report. And it's about 12 or 15 items of things that we found going forward from the 60% on that were going to be issues. And the owner of the business looks at me and goes, "Hey, you know what? That's not good. It really doesn't help me. I expect my superintendents and project managers to fix that." And I said, "Oh, yeah?" And he goes, "If you don't have anything else, this really was a waste of our time." And I said, "The only thing that I have that I think might have been valuable was you had three different datums." And he goes, "Holy cow." He goes, "That was a $25,000 mistake that cost us 6 weeks on the schedule
Mm.
because it was a commercial car wash. And the first thing they did was the site work. And then they built the water retention tank, and it was poured into concrete. It was on the wrong datum. So they would have had to put a sump pump and more mechanical stuff." And he said, "Holy cow, how much did this thing cost?" And it was, I think we were like $5,000 into it, plus my time,
Mm.
but I was free. And so it was one of those things that we did that. And then the next time we did a similar project, we did all of the constructability before we submitted for permits. And the project went through permitting through the city with minimal comments,
Mm. Sure.
spell check, things like that. And it was just the value of spending that little bit of time in pre-construction,
Mm.
of having somebody really look at the plans as opposed to locking up your old superintendent. "Hey, go sit down here and just make sure these plans are constructible." Um, Having a methodology to that really, really pays dividends. So I left that job because I felt like I needed a little bit more hands-on. So I
Hmm.
went to work for a general contractor. I show up and he goes, "Huh, you haven't done any construction in the last 33 years." He goes, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a chance on you." And they said, "We're going to make you an assistant project manager and a working superintendent. We're
Hmm.
going to put you out in the field for a week. Then we'll bring you back in the office. Then we'll figure out what we're going to do with it." And so I went out and I hung windows on a multifamily project with our general superintendent, and he was kind of testing me. And then I went back in the office. By the second day I was in the office, they looked at me and said, "You're never going back in the field." And you know, the one reason I was willing to do whatever it was for 90 days was they had agreed to sit down with me on the 91st day. By the 91st day, we sat down and they said, "Holy cow, we can't believe what you've done." We started having regular meetings with the superintendents. We started having working lunches where the superintendents would come in. We started bringing office staff, our accountant, and some of the gals that were doing the purchasing and things like that out to the site to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And we started to build this collaborative team. And then we had daily and weekly phone calls to make sure we were tracking what the issues were and building these checklists to make sure things work. It really worked out well. And, on that 91st day, they made me the director of construction and gave me a truck and doubled my salary.
I love it.
So
I
it
just want
just
to just really quickly, I want to double click into that. So when like we see it all the time, site doesn't talk to office, office doesn't talk to site, right? They're almost combative when they should be collaborative. What were some of the agenda items or just bullet points in some of these meetings? Like, if somebody wanted to go like, oh, yeah, I really should be doing that as well. What kind of stuff should they cover off, or how long should it run? What's the frequency, time of day of week? You know, how could somebody pick that up?
so what I found was chow food.
Okay.
Do it around lunch because everybody wants to eat. So and you can bucket a 2 hour window and so because I had done things like this before in the military,
Mm,
I knew it was going to be distressed for the first meeting. And
mm,
and so the project manager who I was working for at the time said, Arch, do you have an agenda? And I said, listen, I've got a rough agenda, a couple of items. We want to find out the status of each project. I said, but Evelyn, we're never going to get through any of this. So this is going to be a bitch session. So the first time everybody got together, it was about 2 hours of bitching, and we had about 10 minutes at the end to eat lunch.
mm.
The,
Sure.
the second time we did this, the second month, um, we started with lunch and then we started with the agenda. And it still turned out to be about an hour of complaining. By the time we got this thing dialed in and people understood what the agenda was, we were having the weekly calls. When they showed up there, they showed up with constructive things.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing was to make sure we took notes. And so at the end of the meeting, we pushed out, hey, Bob, John, Frank, Susie, we heard what you said. Here's what we're going to do about it. And the fact when they saw some of these action items occur,
Mm,
it gave them confidence and faith that this wasn't just a waste of time and they weren't there just for the free lunch.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. When people can see it's a little bit of a platitude, but it is really true, right? Cash flow is king, profit is prince, but momentum is emperor. And when people feel the momentum or see that there is movement and progress happening, even if it's as simple as, yeah, we met, but we did come out with two action items, and those two action items have been completed. Like, builds trust, builds credibility, and makes them buy into the progress or the direction and everything else that's going on. So I massively subscribe, particularly meeting belly to belly, like actually meeting over food. Yeah, there's no better
Yes,
place, right?
it's so
I mean,
primal.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I think we all, we're all high functioning people in this industry. And so the mind, body, spirit piece is super important. And when you throw in that fourth leg of the milk stool of social, and now these guys feel like they're being heard and now they're less apt when they see me ask a dumb question. They're less concerned about asking a dumb question themselves, like if they don't understand the schedule, if they don't understand when the trade is going to show up, or how are the pay apps working.
Mm.
So we removed a lot of barriers that way, so it
I
just worked out really well.
I think as well, it's so important to uh kind of lead from the front as the leader and as the business owner in so many aspects, not just, you know, showing up, doing the hard work and all the other stuff, but like asking good questions, normalizing that it's okay to ask very basic and simple questions that are normally the most revealing. I've also seen where some leaders have been done a really good job in like saying it's okay to take a holiday every now and then and going, I do need to recharge my batteries. I'm going to take a long weekend. I think everybody else should as well at a certain time. Like, let's work out the schedule and make sure that we're taking holidays just as much as we're asking basic questions, just as much as we're showing up, giving good feedback, asking for feedback. Like if the leader can hold the standards, hey, following up on this checklist, hey, I'm taking a holiday. I think you should as well. Hey, how is this done? Like, I know it's going to sound silly, but I just want to revisit some really basic stuff. How do we send an invoice? Or something like that. Just helps
Yes.
to spotlight kind of the foundational basics and normalize that we're all in a progressive, innovative, iterative, let's get better every single month, every single year, every single project, sort of like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm I just want to like dig into kind of some of the mindset shifts that you've had as you've gone through different stages in your career. Because, I admire your progress. I admire the momentum that you're in with your business, and your journey as well. It's rich, it's varied. But like as you've gone through, what have been some of the difficult mindset changes that you've had to adopt? Because that's kind of like what it's all about, right?
Yes. Um, Luckily I had a lot of this stuff was kind of ingrained in the military. But
Mm,
the one thing that I think kind of hurt me a little bit in the military, and I had several mentors talk about the power of relationships in construction and projects, and if you have to do lean releases and stuff like that, then you've really got to question the relationship.
mm,
And so I kind of took that to heart as we kind of got started. And but my mindset shift was agreements are great, but contracts are in stone. And so we've got to go back to that contract line. And it's not because I don't trust you. It's just we've got it's like a plan. It's a common point from which we can deviate from. But if we
mm,
don't have it to protect you as the client and me as the contractor, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. And it's the ultimate form of trust is to have a relationship in writing.
mm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just in a position to protect everybody who's there. So, has that come from an experience where you have been burnt before, or like, did you have to learn that the hard way? Or
Oh, I learned it the hard way on job one.
sure,
Um, it was right after Hurricanes Helene and Milton had just crushed the west coast of Florida.
yes,
And
right,
a buddy of mine, a retired sergeant major, called me up and said, "Hey, I've got somebody that I need you to help. Can you come down and take a look at the property?" And we went down there and we're like, "Okay." And at first it was, "Hey, I can't wait to get out of here. Two hurricanes. I just want to sell it." So
sure,
it was a fix and flip.
right,
And so we went in there, rock bottom prices, and then she's like, "Well, hey, the market's really bad now. I'm not going to be able to sell it. So I'd really like to go with shaker style cabinets, and I don't want to go back with the linoleum countertops. I'd like to go with quartz." And we're like, "Oh, okay." So we start maneuvering and we start getting stuff. And shame on me, we talked about it, but I didn't have her sign change orders.
yes.
And at the end of this, God bless her, it didn't work out, and we took a loss on the project, um, a
The, it,
significant loss.
yeah. If I had, if I had a dollar for every time I've heard that story, working with hundreds, not thousands of business owners, building company owners in the last decade and a bit. It's so common. It's probably like one of the 80/20 of the 80/20. What are like two or three systems that you just need to like table stakes? Like you have to have them, otherwise, like good luck. It's like a change order process. Because the number of times that, the owner, like, you're a lovely guy. Of course we can help. Like, it's my job.
Yes,
Make sure that you're having a great experience here. I want you to refer people. Like, of course we can help. And then not go, but actually, who's paying for that? And sometimes it's not even the materials and the stuff as part of the actual job, it's the extending time on site and then the extra days of safety fencing and porta potty and hazard board and jumbo bin. And you're like, hold on, we've just been on site for an extra 4 days now. That's $700,
yes,
$1,000, $12,000. Like, who's paying for that? Like, yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, expensive mistake, big learnings from it. You reckon you went backwards on that one?
yes.
Yeah.
And the other one was, and this is kind of, this is a personal thing for me,
Mm.
but the value of the relationship with the people.
Mm.
Because in the military, with all of the years of, post, 9/11 and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
there was a really big emphasis in the military of suicide and taking care of people and the mental health aspect of people. And the mindset shift that I had with that, with regard to construction, was as I started to do some research, on veterans and things like that, I looked at the number above veterans, and it was actually construction.
Mm.
And it was because of the high stress and the type of, the can-do attitude, exactly what we talked about of how you're going to make the client happy, and you're going to do it on your own back.
Yeah.
And if we don't take care of our people, they really run a risk. And it kind of goes back to the whole mind, body, spirit, social
Mm.
aspect of making sure that we are doing the check-ins with the people to make sure that they're good. So that was something that was just kind of reiterated to me that even though this isn't the military, we really need to be taking care of our people.
So I totally agree, 100%. One of our core values at TBB is health and wealth, and we have a health and fitness stipend for all of our team. But we also believe that you are what you eat, and that's not just like actual food. It's like media that you consume, podcasts, books, all this sort of stuff. So we make sure that all of our team have an Audible account, which is actually proven to be quite expensive, even though it's $20 a month. But you add that up with across the entire company, it's like, oh wow, but it means that we can now have a book club, and we're all reading and learning the same stuff, and we're talking about books and things like this. And you are what you eat, and it's mental as much as it is physical. How does it show up in your business? Like, what do you do to mind, body, and spirit?
Yes. So, I joked one time about potentially having everybody meet in the morning for workouts, and everybody immediately poo-pooed that. So that didn't gain any traction. But one of the things that's been very successful is sharing kind of what we're reading. So
Oh,
when we share this kind of stuff, because it again it makes sure we're all on the same sheet of music,
yes.
and when we share a podcast with each other, it's one of those things in which we kind of come together and we talk about, well, hey, I like this, I didn't like that, and then one of the guys will mention something that I completely missed, and it happens to be like a lesson that is immediately applicable to the situation we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Hear me out on this because it sounds funky, but you can't spell culture without cult. And there are lessons that we can take from cults to build community, shared experiences, common language. And when we're all consuming the same podcasts, reading the same books, we end up identifying as a team the same heroes, the same villains, the same common language, the same experiences. And it helps to build the foundations of a cult, but it helps to build culture, which is ultimately like culture eats strategy for breakfast. I'm not sure who says that, but it's a famous kind of like business anecdote. And it's very true. It's like the more that we can get our team operating in the same manner, the faster we can go together rather than having a lot of different, like, oh, I thought this was important. Just profit. No, no, no. Not profit, yes. Client satisfaction, phenomenal result, yes. And also, like, we've got to live in this community for the next 5, 10, 15, 25, 30 years. Like, we got to see these people around. Like, you can't be
Yeah.
going ripping people off and being a bad sport. Like, we got to represent ourselves really well. So, how do you define success for your business then? Is it like personally and professionally? How do you define success?
Um, for me, I'm looking to build, that organization I never have to retire from,
Mm,
and to build something that I'm proud of, and that gives me and the team a sense of purpose, and that common coming together, for work and for projects, I think is a really unifying thing, and I've found the parallels with that in the civilian world,
mm,
eerily similar to the military, and so you know, having an organization that people want to come to work, want to stay, want to join, I think to me is one of the best metrics we could have. And many of the people that I've worked with, one of the things I've been really good at is maintaining relationships.
mm,
And so all of the people that I've worked with over my past 5 years since I retired have all at one point or another we've discussed doing things together, doing projects together, working on different things together, collaborating. So to me that's been very valuable.
mm,
And I would hope that at some point, that's why the TPB program for me, where we take a look at this holistically, and I kind of shared with Carla in a review that I really the biggest impediment to progress is probably me, because I'm working in the business. I should be working on the business, and working that balance has been difficult.
mm,
But I think if I could grow an organization that I could transition to somebody, whether it's my daughters or it's an employee that shows promise that wants it, that's going to keep the same values.
Mhm.
That to me would be professionally the ultimate measure of success would be to have that business that continues
I
and
love
not end up, not to say there's anything wrong with private equity, but not something that just gets consumed by private equity and then everything that was this organization kind of goes away because it doesn't make financial sense.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. It's very true how like a lot of people have that, that vision of the business that they're trying to build over the next kind of little while. Like what are some of the next milestones that you're trying to hit tangibly? Like what sort of is on the horizon for you in terms of like, elevating Carlos into that leading project manager position, but what else is on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, so really, and as I go back to the business maturity model,
Mm.
the mature, that's one of the things Carlos and I are starting to talk about now. On his, 70th day in the organization is what does the organization need to look like for him to take that next step? What's
Nice.
the organization look like as far as having enough work to where we can bring on not three part-time superintendents, but we need three full-time superintendents, and we need a full-time construction admin person
Mm.
that's going to help with the invoicing, that's going to help get things ready for our fractional CFO.
Yes.
Um, those are the kind of things that we're working on right now, because that's going to allow us to do more projects, and it's going to allow us to kind of expand our control of what's going on with regard to doing good work and finding good clients.
I love it. Do you have like a target in mind of like being a 5, 10, 25, 3? Like what sort of like do you think is your, although revenue is not important, it is like a yardstick of like with this comes this team, comes these things, like what kind of like target do you think you have around that sort of stuff or project target?
Um, I, I would have thought we would have been, already over, the 2 million mark.
Mhm.
And we're close. We've got all of the irons in the fire,
Yeah.
which is why I think a couple of these things are going to break free for us.
Yeah.
But I would anticipate us trying to get somewhere in the 25 to 30 range,
Hmm.
because that allows the organization, to grow.
Yep.
Carlos would move up to be director of construction. We'd bring in a project manager or two underneath him,
Yep.
and then each project manager would have several superintendents, that would be capable of running projects. Um,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Quite often we see, and we've seen it in our business as well, like growth is not linear. It's like typically step change. So we can be like pounding away at 2, 5, 25 for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, oh, crikey. Okay, here we are. And the tricky thing with that is the step change happens really quickly, not linearly. And therefore, do you invest in growth just before that change or just after that change? It's either too early or it's too late. It's very rarely that we get the other piece lined up properly. And what that means is that as revenue might kind of like go around like this, and gross profit will typically trace it because it's going to be 20, 25, 30% or whatever. Net profit won't, because you'll invest into overheads early or late. So net, like your revenue and your gross profit will like probably trace, parallel, but net profit will go like this. And it's about working out how
right.
to bridge that gap between investments of process and people before, during, or after the growth stage, because we'll never get it right. The timing is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is part of what I think is helping Carlos and I now, because we're now going to our TPB things
Mhm.
together as a team,
Yes.
is to kind of have that shared vision of the future. It was funny last year when I was getting started with the business. I went and I talked to Construction Leading Edge, Todd DeWalt, and I talked to the Breakthrough Academy, and I talked to several other organizations that were like, "Hey, listen, you're not at $2 million. You don't have 10 people. Uh, I'm sorry, we can't help you." And TPB was the one organization that said, "Hey, this isn't exactly where we want you to be," but they liked the fact that I knew the value and benefit of what systematizing the program was going to do for us.
Mm.
I just needed someone in TPB took a chance on us, and has shared this with us, and I think it's what's allowing us to kind of take that step now with Carlos coming on board, somebody that has a shared vision, I think is going to help us accelerate and apply all of the lessons we're learning in our
Mm,
TPB curriculum.
so good. Appreciate that. That's great. So before we land the plane, I mean, I could chew the fat and talk the ears off an elephant here with you all day, but best we sort of wrap
Sure.
things up. Tell me, who do you want to thank? Because no man's an island. We've all kind of got here with the help and support of others. So, you've had a storied career. Tell me, like, who do you want to thank? And yeah, any parting words for your younger self or somebody listening to this that might be not quite where you're at today?
Well, funny thing, for me 5 years ago, I would say stay the course. I had a plan as I was transitioning, and it was I went to lunch with a mentor, and I was sitting down with the owner of a surveying company, and he goes, "Hey, so tell me what your plan is." I said, "Oh, okay. Hey, I'd like to join your company. I'm gonna be your best employee. All this other stuff. I'm gonna learn the business and everything like that. But I do have a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. So about 3 to 5 years, I may look to go out on my own and start my own." And he goes, "Stop right there. What you just told me is that you're going to come in, you're going to learn my business, and then you're going to go be my fiercest competitor. So say that again." And so I said, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, I left out the whole thing about the entrepreneurial spirit, and I just wanted to be his best employee and stay there until I died." Um, Needless to say, I didn't get that job. Um,
Sure.
but have a plan, and work that plan, and stay with it. No matter how bad it gets. um, you know my favorite thing from you guys is run towards us, don't run away from us. And every time I feel like I don't feel like making the meeting, I don't feel like making the effort, I don't feel like trying to do this, I know to myself I need to do it because I'm starting to run away, not towards, and I need to continue to move towards.
Mm,
So that's probably been one of the best things for me. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my wife,
mm,
um, for continuing to fund this exercise.
mm.
Um, but my daughters, who laugh that as I retired, this is job five, and they said, "Hey, don't call the company CBiz, call it job five." And I was like, "I'm not going to call it job five. People will think I'm unemployable."
I
Um,
love it. Yeah.
but the guy that I worked for all the way through high school and college, Tom Rosenkrantz, we still get together, and we just built an outdoor kitchen up at my mother-in-law's house, 2 years ago. He helped me build an outdoor kitchen down here in Florida, in North Carolina. And so I would like to thank him. And then, just the local community here, Hank Booth, um, Fred Lay, Scott Sutek, and then obviously Carlos. But the TPB team, Carla and Ari, man, I'm very appreciative for you guys taking a chance in me and us. And we want to make you guys proud of how you've helped us.
Mm. Well, I mean, I just love seeing your momentum, your progress, and your mindset. The biggest thing that I've written down like 3 times. So as we go through these, I love to take notes,
Yes.
because I mean I get so much from uh, meeting with people like yourself as well, and that's why these are my highlights of my week. And have a plan, stick with it. Default, not design. Find somebody that fills gaps that you have. So like Carlos being bilingual and things like that. Like, this is all of it is we don't often need to learn new things. We need to be reminded of stuff we already know. We're just not doing it. And I think like I love these sessions because they're such great reminders of like what success takes. Planning, diligence, sticking to the course, doing the boring work. Great people never don't do the basics, right? They don't never skip the basics and jump straight to the advanced stuff. They do the basics really well. When I was playing professional sport, even in the best teams, we would get in, we'd warm up, we'd pass, we'd shoot, we'd slide, we'd do skills. They're the basics. So, oh,
Yes.
you graduated. No, no, no. Like, it just means we train for longer because you got to still spend 40 minutes doing that. And then you get into the other stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Brilliance in the basics is such a key fundamental that
Yeah.
that we all have to. No matter how good we get, you've still got to go back and work on the blocking and the tackling of
Yes.
of the basic things that made us what we are today.
Yes. Yeah. Arch, thank you so much for putting your time aside during dinner as well. What's for dinner? Where are you going or what are you eating at home?
Oh, I'll tell you, we already had dinner, and now as I'm getting a little bit older, I've got to pay attention to the diet,
Yeah.
which that's another mindset shift that I had to do. Is I never had to worry about that. I thought I'd be running triathlons and drinking beer the whole rest of my life,
Yeah.
and so we had a salad and some chicken.
Oh, wow. Very lean. I like it. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. Well, appreciate you staying up nonetheless. Fantastic to connect. I'm looking forward to hopefully syncing up when we're in the US next. We'll be coming to Florida at some point. If it's not for the International Builders Show, it'll be for something else. But appreciate you. Thank you very much. And yeah, congratulations on how far you've come and what you've got coming up as well over the next little while.
Well, hey, great. Thank you, Owen, and please give my regards to the rest of the team.
I will. I will. Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Have a great day.